Welcome back to the Advent of Cintran 2025. This is day 5. Feels weird saying 2025 day 5. Too many fives, too close together. Looks like I'm live, looks like my audio is working. Don't have any weird video glitches right now. And I think my OBS stream chat is up to date. All right, yeah, I just said test and it showed up. So I forgot to do that in the stream earlier today where I finally did day 4 after the fact. But we're going to take a shot at day 5 live. So if you're watching on YouTube, just skip to the 3-minute mark when the puzzle unlocks. I've got my input downloader and template copier and directory maker ready to run. And we've got just under 2 minutes until the puzzle unlocks. So far, I would say that these are ramping up at a normal difficulty. I was thinking because there are only 12 days, they should get more difficult more quickly, but so far that doesn't seem to be the case. On the other hand, like day 4 was especially easy, so I feel like we're due for something that's harder than they have been so far. Maybe not like double the difficulty. I was thinking like take the day and multiply it by 2, so day 5 should be as difficult as like another year's day 10. I don't think they've been ramping up like that though. I think they're ramping up like day 5 is just the same difficulty as a day 5 from another year. Or I should say day 4 is day 3, 2, and 1. Day 5 is unknown right now because it's not out yet. We shall see. Oh, another thing, I was messing with OBS. I have like multiple audio sources and I turned on a compressor. I'm not really sure. I think I might have only added the compressor filter to my laptop built-in mic, but I'm not using my laptop's built-in mic. I'm using this microphone. So I tried adding a compressor there too. And off stream, I did like an OBS recording and listened to it. And once again, I can't notice a difference with this compressor filter, so I'm not really sure if it's on or if it's just not noticeable. 10 seconds. Here we go. I swear. Was that a glitch or did I click early? I think it's unclickable if you try to click early. Anyway, not sure what happened there. I have my input. It's over 1,000 lines. And I can edit my template. And let's get the test input. Ingredients. There was an ingredient puzzle from a previous year, I think. Something about ranges. I haven't read anything. I just wanted the test input. I think there should be a blank line there. Sometimes I get random blank lines from copy pasting into Alacrity. I don't really know what the issue is, but this one is not a bug. So I should be able to run that and it should just echo the input. All right. So this is day 5. Now, what are we doing? Inventory management. Some ingredients are fresh, some are spoiled. And we have a database, that's the input. So we have ingredient IDs. Anything in these ranges are fresh. And then these are the available ingredients. seems straightforward. I don't know what the twist in part 2 is going to be, because part 1 seems pretty straightforward. Even if we have 1,000 lines of input, it doesn't seem that bad. So I wonder, can I split? I think my split function works with single characters. I'm wondering if I can split by double new line. I don't think I have a good way to do that. So, and I would have had to read the whole file as one string. So yeah, I think I have to do some work here. So we have a number of ranges and a number of ingredients. And we're going to use this to keep track of whether we've hit the blank line or not. So, if string is a blank line, then that's going to flip to true. Else, if we haven't found the blank yet, then we're going to increment the number of ranges. Otherwise, we're going to increment the number of ingredients. Let's just print these. Just like parsing is the hard part of part 1 here. So we should have 4 ranges and 6 ingredients. All right, that makes sense. Now I'm going to rewind and read the entire file again. So I'm going to do that. F is already declared, so we don't have to declare that or that. And we're just going to loop here. 0 through n range. Let's just put this at the beginning of the loop. And then we're going to read a blank line, and then we're going to process the ingredients. But I want to get the ranges first. So it's going to be like a 2 by n array. We're going to initialize it to zeros, and then it's 2 by n range. And we're going, I think I can just parse directly out of here. Wonder if I can do it like this. Can I slice both ranges for this line? Parse I32 delim, and the delimiter is a dash. The delimiter is a dash. Okay. And they're unsigned, so otherwise like having a dash as a delimiter would be tricky. Because is it a dash or is it a negative number? Let's see, did I get the ranges? Three, 5, 10, 14. That seems correct. I'm pleasantly surprised that that worked. I didn't know if I could chain my functions or pipeline my functions together like that, but it just works. And then putting the result into a slice of an array. That's a feature of an array-oriented language. All right, now we're going to parse the ingredients. So we read the blank line, and then 0 through n ingredient. I have terrible variable names, just feel free to roast me. We're going to initialize the ingredients to zeros, And this is just a n array. It's not 2 by n or anything. It's just a vector. It's not a matrix. Ingredients. We don't need to split anything here. Let's check that we parsed that correctly. So 158, 32, 158 up to 32. All right, we have the ingredients and we have the ranges. Now we just have to check if the ingredients are in a range. And those are the good ones that we're trying to count, or do I have that backwards? So these are fresh ranges. And we want to count how many are fresh. Okay. Oh, I kind of left an R out of that. Ingree and ingrees. We're going to keep track of whether it's fresh or not. Yeah, I can use I because I'm using ingree here instead of I. So I has not been used yet. And range. So is fresh equals range is 0. I is less than or equal to ingredient. And ingredient is less than or equal to range is 1. That's the upper bound. And then if we found one, we can just break. It might be in multiple, but as soon as we find one that says it's fresh, we can break. And then, where should I do it? I was going to put it outside of this loop, but I think I can just add everything up in here. And we're just counting, so I just want to increment by 1, I think. So what are there, 3 in the sample? Okay, we have 3 in the sample. Let me confirm that that's right. All right, now the real input. This seems straightforward. I've got a good feeling about this. Oh, we have big numbers. Okay. I hope they fit in an I-64. So these are I-64. Do I have this function? I think the ingredients are probably also 64-bit. Let's see if we get an error for that. Yeah, I guess we do. Didn't we already have a 64-bit problem this year? So this isn't like the first problem where you need 64 bits, and they show up in the input. It's not like you get them as a result of a calculation and you have to figure out that you have overflow. I think some years tricky like that, but this one is straightforward about the existence of 64-bit integers. I see. So this is going to be like a huge range of numbers. So if you tried to put them all into a set or a dictionary, you would run out of memory, I assume. Yeah, like this is billions. This is a range of billions or something. Because the 1 and the 3 digit changed. So millions, it's trillions. It's like 2 trillion just for this one. So you can't manage this in memory. You have to sort of merge ranges symbolically. I think I saw this in a previous year and I just didn't do it. I was like, nope, I'm not going to figure this one out. But I feel like I should be able to do this. So you get the first range. You don't have to do anything with that. And then we start iterating. So you get the second range. And then what you want to do is you want to see if it overlaps with any of the ranges that you already have so far. If there's an overlap, you want to merge them into one range and treat it as one. You could have like the lower bound of the one range and the upper bound of the other range, or you might have a second range that's entirely within the first range. So we have some case handling to do there. But then if there is no overlap, then you just have 2 ranges. And then at the end, you want to subtract all of your upper bounds from all of your lower bounds and add up that total. Yeah, this doesn't seem too bad. The case handling of merging ranges might be tricky. So let's go back to the test input. So 3, 5, 10, 14, these do not overlap. 16, 20, there's still no overlap. Now 12 to 18. Oh, this is tricky because it might overlap with multiple other ranges. So you're going to start iterating and you're going to see that 12, 18 intersects with this. So then you're going to form 10 to 18 as one range. And then you have to iterate again through all of your other ranges, and then you'll find that 10 to 18 actually overlaps with 16 to 20. And then you'll merge all 3 of these into one range, which is just 10 to 20. So at the end, you'll have 3 to 5 and 10 to 20. So 10 to 20 is 11. And then you have 3, so that's 14 for the sample. Yeah, 14. So that's the approach that I'm going to take. I'm glad I looked at this and thought about it because I didn't think about it might overlap with multiple other ranges. So you have to sort of iteratively do this until you can't merge anything else. And maybe you could do some optimizations like sorting by the lower bound of each range or sorting all of your ranges by their lower bounds. But I don't think I'm going to do that. It just sounds more complicated and I'm not sure if it would help at all. So we're going to have like a merge range function, and that's going to be the hard part. And then we have to iterate properly to do all the merging that needs to be done. So let me take part 1 because we still want to do the parsing. We don't actually need to save the ingredients because this is obsolete for part 2. Okay. So that's a start. Part 1, and then we run part 2, but it doesn't do anything. So it just prints 0, but it still loads the ranges. Okay, so we're going to get range 3, 5. Let's call this like n range not. We're going to have like the unmerged ranges. So that's going to be n range not and ranges not. I don't care about ingredients, actually. So let's just delete that. And then ranges are going to be ranges not. Okay, that still parses. I have no syntax errors with the variable renaming. So we're going to have the unmerged ranges, ranges not, and then we're going to produce the merged ranges, and I'm just going to call that ranges. So we're going to process the unmerged ranges not into merged ranges. And there might be fewer of them, because when you merge them, you get one fewer. When you merge two, you get one fewer, and then you might have to merge multiple subranges into larger ranges. So we're going to over allocate to some capacity, and that capacity is just going to be nRange not. So 0, it's still going to be 2 by nRange not, and nRange not is the capacity here. In the end, we're going to get some smaller number, and we're going to initialize that to 0. And every time we process one, we're going to increment this. But then if we have to merge it, well, I think we're just not going to increment it to begin with. So the first range, you don't have anything to merge it with. So we're just going to put that in the list. I don't like having that highlighted from my search result. So ranges 0 equals ranges not 0. Let's just print that. It should be the first one and then a bunch of zeros. Okay, so yeah, so the first one, there's nothing to merge it with. We just put that in, and now we have to do the merging. So we're going to start iterating from 1. I think we also need a Boolean array. Because of this case where we merge all 3 of these, at some point, like some of these ranges are going to become inactive. You could just like reset the bounds to 0 to 0. Yeah, maybe that would work. Maybe I'll just do that instead of making a Boolean vector. Okay, so we process the next 3. What do we do with these? So you're going to have to iterate over everything that you have so far. Zero through I. Check if range I intersects with range J. So if there's no intersection, you don't have to do anything. If there is, then you have to merge them. Okay, so I put one thing. I don't want to iterate over ranges not now. I want to iterate over the things that have been processed. So we started this at 0, and then we put one in. So we're actually going to increment this, or just initialize it to 1, instead of initializing to 0 and then incrementing. So this is not going to go up to I, this is going to go up to n range, which starts out as 1 after we put 1 in the processed list. So we're processing this. Range is not I. We're going to check if it intersects. Range is not. We're going to check if it intersects ranges J. So I have to make this intersect function. I was thinking about something. If you merge, then you still have to check if there are other intersections elsewhere in the list. So I think I want to have a helper variable for this. So range, let range equal the thing that I'm processing, range is 0, I. And then replace this with that helper variable. And then we're going to potentially update this with the result of the merge. This is not going to parse because I haven't defined this, so let me just comment this out and make sure everything is still sane. Okay. Yeah, that seems sane. I still process a range. So I have to make an intersect function. Function intersect range A and range B, and we need types. So this is a vector of I64s. Rank 1, it's a vector. Everything is an array. It's just the rank is shown by how many colons are in this function signature after the semicolon. And range B is the same type. And this returns a Boolean. So let me just return false and see if that signature and function header or prototype is okay. All right, that seems okay. Now, so if there's no intersection, I think that's the easier case to think about. So if the lower bound of A is less than the lower bound of B, and the lower bound of B is greater than or equal to, no, greater than the upper bound of A, then there's no intersection. So that's this case. And the other case for no intersections is if they're swapped. So you don't want to assume that A comes before B. It might be the other way around and you still have no intersection. So if RA0 is less than RB0 and RB0 is greater than RA1, return false. And then the other case, we're going to swap these. So let's replace RA with RC, even though that doesn't exist. Now replace RA with RB, and then change this back to RA. So I've just swapped the variable names from these lines using like RC as a temporary name, so I don't forget which one I have to replace in the middle of swapping them. And if it's neither of those cases, then there is an intersection. And I think for the sample, this should be false because nothing is going to intersect with 3, 5. Maybe we'll get to the second iteration and see some trues. Yeah, because we haven't put anything else in the list yet. So now how do we merge? Greater than. Actually, no, there's this weird shit. Should I like convert the input so it's not inclusive of the upper range? I feel like that's going to make my case handling harder. Because this is actually wrong. It would be greater than +1. And that would be no intersection. Because if it's greater than by 1 exactly, then it's not that they intersect, but they're right next to each other. So you would want to merge them. But you don't have to merge them, so maybe it's okay. Yeah, I think it doesn't matter. I think it doesn't matter. Okay. So how do I merge? Range and ranges J. And then this range and this range are going to get aggregated into this. So then I don't want to like check if there's an intersection with this anymore. So I want to update this to like a null range. I don't know. Let's make it -1, -1. 0, 0. 0, 0. And make it -1, -2. Because then I don't have to do anything special to handle this case later. It's going to have a count of 0 if I just subtract the endpoints and add 1. Okay. So I have to implement this merge function. It's going to have the same input arguments as intersect, but it's going to return an I64 vector. Oh, notice this function in Syntran, or this feature in Syntran now, I can call functions above of where they are defined. A year ago, was it a year ago, or was it, I think it was just a year ago, I didn't have recursion, and you couldn't call functions like this. You had to have the definition above of where you used that function. But this works now because I also have recursion, and you basically need to be able to handle functions like this for recursion. Okay. So the easy cases are if one range is entirely inside the other range. Maybe I want like the first half of these conditions. Maybe if this is not true, you just want to swap things and then handle them. I don't know. Yeah, let's do recursion. Just call them in the other order. I think that should work. Ensure consistent order. Yeah, that returns, so we're done there. Now RA0 is less than or equal to RB0. So we're basically only calling this if there is an intersection. Also, like I could have done this same thing for intersect, but there aren't that many cases, so I just did it twice. Guaranteed. So we're only calling this if there is an intersection. I think we can just use max. So we're going to return RA0 and then max RA1, RB1. Is that it? All right, what's this going to do? I feel like I have more work to do here, but I think my merge function at least is done. Okay, so after we do this, we have to put the merged range in the list. And I want to do it outside of this list because it might go through multiple merges. Yeah, I still have to put it in the list because nothing intersects with this first range. So ranges, we're going to put it in the ranges list. N range equals range, and then increment this. Yeah, so I did have more work to do up there. So we get some merges, 1014 and 1218. 1218 and 1014 merge to 1018, and then that merges with the other one to 1020. And now we just have to count. So for I in 0 to n range, sum plus equals ranges 1i minus ranges 0i. It should be 14 for the sample. Well, that's wrong. Three, 5, 10. Oh, plus 1. Yeah, and that's off by 4 because I have 4 ranges. So this should work. All right, 14. Let's do the real input. That's a big number. I've got a good feeling though. There we go. Under 40 minutes, to be exact. 37.5 minutes. That was a fun puzzle. Do I have any viewers? By the way, I streamed earlier today, and my stream OBS just disconnected. But I don't think it's OBS's fault. I think my laptop can't handle uploading a stream and watching somebody else's stream at Twitch on the same time. So my laptop couldn't handle that much network traffic, and then OBS crapped out. But it's not OBS's fault. Yeah, I think I don't have any viewers, so I'm not really going to bother with a raid. I guess I'll just clean up this logging and then commit this and then go to bed, because it's after midnight here. It's coming up on 1 a.m. Right, let's clean up the debug logging. Are my answers still correct? 623 and 353. $623 and 353, 373. 353, 373. Looks correct, at least. It has a significant number of correct digits. I didn't read every digit, of course. Get add. Day 5. Good puzzle today. I liked that. Wasn't really sure how to handle it at first, but we got it done. Like I said, there was another problem. I think it was the first year that I did, so the year that I did it in Fortran, where there was a similar range-based problem where like part 1 was manageable for some reason. I don't know if they gave you smaller numbers or what the limitation was, but then part 2, it was like you basically had to handle ranges symbolically like this, and I'm pretty sure I just gave up on it. So it must have been maybe it was 2023. Was it one of these? I don't feel like it could have been that late. Flow rates? No, it wasn't this one. Maybe I did get the second star eventually by like copying somebody else's code. It's not any of these. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's one of the earlier days. Maybe I did get the second star somehow, but I must have cheated because I remember not doing it. Maybe it was 2023 because I didn't have a perfect record there. I missed a few. Oh, yeah, this is the one where they just listed the problems out of order. So you still did them in order, but it's not top to bottom because, I don't know, I guess the animation was better like that. There must have been some reason. So where, yeah, day 5, I only got 1 star in day 5 here. Maybe. Yeah, so part 1 was there weren't ranges at all. You were just dealing with individual numbers. Yeah, this was fairly complicated. You actually had a map. So these were your inputs, and then you sent the seed inputs into the seed to soil map, and then you sent that result into the soil to fertilizer map. So you had this pipeline of linear maps that you had to apply. Oh, yeah, and this would like break apart ranges, but part 1 didn't deal with ranges. You just had these scalar inputs. And then part 2, they were like, your input isn't just numbers, your input is actually ranges. So what this means is you have 17 or 79 and then 14 values after that. So these are like pairs of numbers. And then you also have 53 and 13 numbers after that. And then when you sent those whole ranges through maps, the maps would split your ranges because that's just how the maps work. I don't remember the details of that, but if you read this, I believe that's the case. So initially you started with like 2 ranges. What was my input? We probably had more than 2 ranges to start out. Yeah, so you had more than 2 ranges, and these were also like fairly large numbers, and the maps were also, yeah, maybe not 64-bit. This is like 1 billion. Is that 3 billion? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you did need 64-bit, at least if you're doing unsigned or signed integers like I have to do in Syntran. So each of these maps would split your ranges, so you would end up with more ranges than you initially had. So I looked at that and I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I probably tried a brute force one, and it might have worked for the sample, but I just gave up. So yeah, it's nice that I was able to deal with ranges today. But this is the opposite problem. This is not splitting ranges like we had in 2023. This is taking ranges and merging them into one. So it's similar, but it's kind of the inverse problem in a way. Yeah, cool puzzle. So I think I pushed. Let me confirm that. All right. There we have it. Yeah. I don't think I have any viewers. I didn't 5 minutes ago, so I'm not going to bother with a raid today, but I appreciate anyone who watched or anyone who's watching on YouTube after the fact. So thanks for that. I'll catch you next time. Bye.